All right, runners, could you introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah, so I am Murtag. I am going to be running Dust and Elysian Tale here.
My name's Naddy. I don't know much about this run, so I'm just gonna be watching.
Yep, he just wants to, going to be hanging out here.
Yeah.
Okay, so so for those who haven't seen this game before, Dust and Elysian Tale is like a 2D hack and slash indie game that's like also like a Metroidvania, and we're going to be going through it extremely fast. So don't blink or you will miss this run. So first of all, get into it. So time doesn't start for another minute into the run, but we're going to be playing on casual difficulty, which gives us a bunch of advantages. Mainly gives us infinite energy. So all the move tech we're going to do in the game, we can just spam rather than having to wait all the time to get energy back. So there's a 1 minute and 2 seconds unskippable cutscene here. Time starts after I skip the first skippable cutscene, so I'll let you know, Jay, when that's ready. This gives me the chance to explain certain things. So this category is any percent warps. Warps, it's the one of the two any percent categories. The other one is warpless. Warping saves. Warpless is about 45 minutes, but warps is about 20 minutes. So it's about 25 minutes. And the reason is because it abuses a PC-only glitch where anytime I'm on a map screen, rather than going onto a normal entrance, I can just drag the map to wherever I want, and I can just go there, even if I've never been there before. So I can just enter a map, leave, to go on the map screen again, and then just go. So whenever I say warping, that's what I'm doing. I'll be doing it a whole bunch, starting about 5 minutes into the run. The start of the game, I won't be able to do it because I can't get onto a map screen until after, once I'm in chapter 1. Yeah, the basic story is we are Dust, we wake up in the middle of a forest, we have no memories. We find a sword called a Ra, we pick it up, it has a guardian, which is this orange bat named Fidget. On the right there, they're going to be following us. We're going to get out of this glade area. I mean, we won't see any more of the story because we're going to skip it all. Okay, so time starts when I hit skip. Are you ready? Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. So straight away, I'm already using movement tech. So what I was doing here is called rocket jumping. By doing a certain combo, slash combo, and then jump slash cancelling it, I will be able to basically carry the momentum and jump forward, which is a little bit faster than just walking. Just like that. Soon that's going to be replaced with much faster movement tech when we get rolling. From this orb here. Now we can roll, but we're coming up on the first skip of the game. It's called Deer Skip. We're going to be jumping over a trigger. Oh, I messed it up. I can do a backup though. Okay, hopefully this works. Yeah, okay, we got over the trigger. So one thing I want to explain is, it looks like I'm just spamming roll here, but I'm actually not. What I'm doing is I'm rolling, crouch slashing, rolling, crouch slashing. The crouch slash cancels the end line, but I can cancel the crouch slash on the first frame. So you can't actually see the crouch slashes unless I make a mistake. So there's another trick coming up here, which I messed up, but that's fine. So this is the only unskippable cutscene in the entire game, like one after the first one. But there is actually one frame you can skip it. The frame you hit the orb, one frame at 60 FPS, you can skip it. However, the game doesn't let you pause the game on that screen. So you have to click out of the game on that frame, and then it lets you skip it. It's a fairly inconsistent trick, but so you generally don't get it in marathon runs, but it's all fine. Just 30 seconds cutscene, and we're out of here. So this is the glade area, which is like the first part. The main thing we're going to be doing is picking up keys for money and trying to not get hit, so we have all of our healing items. Okay, so we got hit, which is it's not a big deal. We just need to do a slight backup later.
Do we have time for a donation?
Yeah, go for it.
We've had a £20 donation from Reba saying, Murtag hype, good luck.
Okay.
Thank you, Reba.
So another thing I'll be doing is trying to avoid red barriers, which is what just happened there. If an enemy is near a room transition, then you can't leave it. So I'll be doing that. The other trick here is... Oh. Whoa. It's fine. This is called zigzagging. Basically, crouch slashing alternately left and right very, very quickly by using both keyboard and controller at the same time. Basically, a certain configuration of holding keyboard keys and mashing the controller lets you attack extremely fast. The fastest way to attack in the game. We'll be using it for some boss fights later on. So we just picked up Aerial Dust Storm, which is a spin move, which lets us do more moves. We can now do the roll tech, but now in the air. So I'm alternating between Aerial Dust Storm on the Y button and then immediately rolling, because we're using the Aerial Dust Storm to cancel the end lag of the roll. I'm going to carry the bomb up here to destroy this bomb wall. We have to reload a save game here because it lets us skip a cutscene. For whatever reason, the next cutscene coming up, you can't skip it unless you reload. We wanted to carry that bomb for a very small time save, but it's no big deal. This is an example of us using Fidget. So Fidget can kind of stun enemies with a projectile attack there, which just helps us get through that red barrier more consistently. We need to lure this slime away, otherwise he'll red barrier us. And then we go through there. And now we're coming out of the glade area. So we'll be skipping some cutscenes. An important way to save time in this game is to know the exact moment where you can skip cutscenes. It's usually when dialogue is about to start. You just kind of have to memorize the exact moment. So we'll be using a new tech here as well. Now that we've got the Aerial Dust Storm, we can do Rising Dust Storm, which is RDS. By doing a specific combo in the air, we can just gain infinite height, just like that. And we just jumped over a trigger for the boss of this area, so we just totally skip the boss and don't have to do that. So that is the end of Chapter 0. So we'll be going to Chapter 1. So in this area, we'll be doing our shopping. So something worth noting is this is a panorama cutscene. Every single time you enter a new area you've never entered before, you get an unskippable panorama cutscene. It takes about 15 seconds. But we are going to be skipping all of the others in the run using unintended methods. Just going to be skipping some cutscenes up here, trying to just hit some story triggers and then do some shopping. That's why we needed all the keys and ideally didn't get hit, because a problem with being on casual difficulty is we automatically use healing items when we get hit, which means we have less. My controller disconnected, but it reconnected, so it's fine. It does that for some reason sometimes. So that chest there is a backup chest for in case you get hit. So you get some extra money, which will allow us to have enough money for what we need. So let's do the shopping trip here. Yeah. Need to make sure not to sell all of our keys. Then we have to do a frame perfect trick here where we change what item we're buying as we're trying to buy it. So we buy a different item for the cost of a different item. Which lets us buy 9 of the TP stones, but I won't explain what they are, because I'll explain what they are in a bit. Firstly, we're going to do 3 tricks very quickly. So firstly, a conversation storage. Talk to that guy as we leave the screen, enter a new map. That blocks the panorama cutscene. Then we're going to leave a room while saving, which creates a glitched save. Worry about that later. Then we're going to do our first warp. So we drag the map, put ourselves way into the map. We're out of bounds, so we're just rising dust storm up through the floor into a trick. So this is called early flesh sheath, because we're going to be picking up the flesh sheath item up here. Get an intentional hit here, because what we're doing is we're rising dust storming against this wall, which lets us gain height quickly. Just like this. So this is, you're not supposed to be able to get this until you have the Vine Grip power up from later in the game. So we're picking up a really late game item really early in the game, which will increase our attack from 4 to 154, so we're doing way more damage than we should. That's really necessary so that we can actually kill the bosses in a reasonable amount of time later on. So, but now that we've picked up that item, we're just going to warp to the end of the chapter, which is right here. But before we end the chapter, we're going to kill this enemy. The reason why we kill that enemy is because we've made sure that our XP is right before we're about to level up. So a panorama cutscene starts, we level up, that knocks us back, knocks us out of the room, and then it skips the panorama cutscene so we can move on. So, before we picked up TP stones from the shop. What TP stones do is let you go from any save point to the map screen, which is obviously incredibly useful when you can go from anywhere from the map screen due to warps. So the big theme of the run is going to be, we want to just go to save points as quick as possible and then warp from them, which is what we're going to be doing right now. So we'll warp from this save point. Oh. So it turns out that there's more to warping than just dragging the map, like that. Also, where you exit a room determines where you'll warp to in the room. So we're going to go to this specific room and exit that room on the right-hand side, because that just sets up the warp such that we go right where we want to be in this room, right next to the power-up to get the slide power-up. We would skip it if we could, but there's no known way to beat the game without slide power-up, so we need to get it. And it introduces a new movement tech, which is slide boosting. So there I slide right at the edge of the platform, immediately cancel into some attacks which carry that momentum through. So we'll be using that when we can, just to go a little bit faster through rooms. But now we're just going to keep warping. We're going to set up another exit warp, so we enter here, immediately leave, and that sets it up perfectly such that when we warp to the final boss, our boss of this chapter, we are right where we need to be. So this boss is going to go incredibly fast. We're going to firstly get the boss stuck by getting on the platform very quickly. Then we're going to do the zigzagging technique. We have to stop before 20 attacks, otherwise she breaks out automatically. But then we just keep on attacking and just kill her very quickly with the zigzag attacks. Now that we beat the boss, we can just go through and in chapter 2. There's some ADCs over here, through here. We need to do another panorama skip here, so we're going to leave a room as we're entering it. So we buffer a left input. You could kind of see Dust walking left as he left, which immediately leaves the room, which cancels the panorama cutscene. And then we get down here as quickly as possible into this story section right here. So this is about 30 seconds of cutscene, the biggest downtime in the run. And it just kind of gives you a bit of time to chill before the hardest chapter in the game. So I'll just be skipping the cutscenes as soon as I can. As soon as the dialogue is about to start, I can skip the cutscenes. What time are we on? Ah, it's 20. That's pretty decent. Considering we missed Dust Storm cutscene skip earlier on, lost about 30 seconds. That is very good pace. What do you think of the run so far?
I'm trying to keep up, if I'm honest with you. It's very impressive so far.
Like I say, this run is fast and a lot of stuff is happening all the time. So coming up is an example of a trick called boosting. We've actually been using it a bunch out of the run, but this is like a really obvious usage of it. So if you attack enemies, you get boosted up towards them. So we can launch ourselves really high in the air just from being below an enemy and doing the spinny aerial dust storm attack below them. We will use that a bunch in this next chapter. Skip that dialogue as soon as we can, and then we start the most intense chapter of the run, which is Sorrowing, chapter 3. So the big problem with this chapter is you can't just warp to the end, because we need to get through a barrier. To get through the barrier, we need to kill the boss, and to spawn the boss, we need 4 items from 4 mansions. So we're going to warp into those mansions in turn and pick up those items. So warp number 1. The theme of this chapter is going to be pretty much warp in, get the item just like that, and now we need to get back to a save point so we can warp again. So we actually now picked up the Vine Grip power-up, so we can actually grab vines. And then we're just going to be getting out. Gonna use some slide boost. Rising Dust Storm. If you get a slide boost here, that'd be nice. Yeah, just like that. So I'm pretty much cancelling everything I do between them with a crouch slash. Things like dropping through platforms. I want to cancel the end lag of me landing from the roll with a crouch slash and then cancel that crouch slash into a drop. So this is quite technically heavy. I kind of have like a bit of a meme in the community, which is all your time losses in this chapter, because it's all about movement. You can lose 30 seconds here just from loads of minor movement mistakes. Like that. Holding roll here works out perfectly. Just do a couple of ADCs. That down slash kills that wall really fast. RDS against the wall. And then slide boost up there for some speed. And get out of this chapter. Sometimes that enemy hits you, it's really rare though. Sad when it happens. This is a pretty interesting warp, it's a very unique one. We're going to be doing it while in the air, which changes the properties of the warp and puts us in a more favourable position. It's technically frame perfect because you have to press jump and up at the same time, but I just have them both bound to the same key on the keyboard, so it's easy. Some nice movement here, the aerial dust storm into the slash, destroys the wall nice fast. Another example of boosting off that Spectre, boost off those zombies, and through here. So if we get good RNG, we can get this bomb to destroy this wall here, which will save about a second. We didn't get it. Some rising dust storms into aerial dodge cancels to climb over, to get over to the door. We need to go over this enemy here, otherwise they'll block us. There's a really rare boost that we've got it. That's like a 1 in 10. Woo. Saves like 2 seconds. Let's go. So this mansion is a little bit different because there's actually a door blocking it, and if we go straight into the mansion, we'll just get soft locked because we can't leave. So instead we need to open it and then get back out. So we leave that bomb in a precise place and then open it up. So that's the door we want to go in, but rather than enter it, we're going to warp inside of it and enter and leave out. So we boost off that nest to get back up here. And now we're actually going to warp inside of the mansion. Oh, and if we warp to the wrong place, that's fine. Just reload the game. Like I say, I can warp to any single tile, and most of them result in horribleness. We need to be careful. So we've got our 4th item, so that was why there was a cutscene that I had to skip. So there's like a 50-50 RNG roll of whether or not I get through this red barrier, so let's see if we get it. No, we didn't get it. So the way monsters spawn, there's always the same amount of monsters in the same rough area, but there can be more or less. They can move a little bit kind of left and right, just based on RNG. And if they're all kind of to the right, we can sneak through that red barrier without having to kill the enemies. And so this is the door that we opened up before, so that's where we would have been soft locked if we hadn't opened up in advance. Boost back off that nest into some rising dust storms to get back up to the save point. Oh. You have to make sure you hit a double down input there. So now we've got all the items, we can go to the final boss. Do a nice slide boost here, straight into the final boss. So this boss is one of the hardest parts of the run. We're going to be doing loads of zigzagging to do really high DPS, but to dodge the attacks we're going to pause. When you unpause in this game, as long as you don't press anything, you have about 1 second of iframes. We're going to use that to dodge all of his attacks. Like that. Okay. It's really easy to make a mistake during this fight, but it's okay, we can just back up into the normal strategies. We still killed half of him with the zigzag, so that's a good 4 second save or so. The annoying thing is if he hits you, he generally summons a bunch of zombies, which are super annoying. So we want to change our difficulty to normal here. There we go. So we changed the difficulty to normal because one of the properties of casual difficulty is it automatically assigns all your skill points, but we want all of them in attack because we obviously do way more damage. Saves about 30 seconds on the final boss fight, so it's super worth doing. But we immediately changed back to casual. We're not going to use our skill points just yet because we're going to do the next chapter first, because we're not actually going to fight anything for this chapter. So throughout this run, we've been doing a lot of warping. But you're probably thinking, you know, can't you just immediately warp to the end of a chapter? We can go into a map, then just leave, and then warp to the end, and finish it. And that's exactly what we're going to do on the next 2 chapters. So, we just started chapter 4, then we leave, enter the map again, and then just go all the way, and there we are in the final room of the chapter. Like, just that warp alone saves minutes upon minutes. So this is kind of like where there's the big reveal, where you find out why you lost your memories, you find out what the hell is happening with the story, but obviously we're just going to skip all of that. And then we're going to be moving on to the last chapter of the run. So the last chapter of the game is pretty long, but as you might have guessed, we're going to be skipping almost all of it. So we're actually getting towards the end of the run now. We've got about maybe a minute and a half left. I'm not actually sure exactly. But before we go into that, we're going to do another panorama skip. We're going to use little old Gihan here. So we did the same trick as before, the conversation storage. We're going to talk to him as we're leaving the screen. Hopefully we got that. Then we're going to start the last chapter of the game. And then shouldn't play the panorama because it's actually going to play the conversation instead. Like that. That conveniently levels us up as well, and then we're going to put our points in attack. And now we can do. So we need to set up an exit warp first. So but this time at the top of the screen, just because that gives us a better positioning. So we leave right at the top by doing a boost off those enemies. Go all the way, 1 left, 1 down. And boom, we're in the final boss fight of the game. But not only the final boss fight, we're in the final phase of the final boss fight. Okay, that's really bad RNG. That's the worst thing that can happen, but it's okay. So we're in the final phase of the boss fight, because we skipped straight into phase 4. So this boss fight is generally pretty easy. We're just going to loop him like this throughout the whole fight. But as you've already seen, at any moment you can just parry. It's completely RNG. He can parry 0 times. He can parry this many times if he wants to. Usually parries aren't too bad as long as you get control of the fight immediately. But if he feels like it, he can be really mean and get some attacks off. His attacks are actually really dangerous. He often has like gets a lot of iframes, giant hitboxes. If we get hit, hitstone in this game is really long. He can even poison us, which will play a cutscene because we've never been poisoned before that will explain what poison is. But he was feeling really mean at the start. Him parrying us right at the very start of the fight prevents me from immediately getting him over here. So that's like kind of a time loss. It's all good. And he doesn't want to die. There we go. And then you just do the final hit. So we're very close to the end of the run. Probably like 20 seconds away. 50, maybe 30. So normally, this is an auto-scroller. We would just have to crawl very slowly to the right to finish the run. That's what we have to do in Warp Plus. But if you were paying attention, a while ago we created a glitched save. And if we load that save, we end up at the bottom of the map, which is not that helpful. But if we load it again, we're right above here. 2 RDSs, 2 ADCs, and time. And that was Dust and Elysian Tale any % warp. I'm glad you liked it. I hope you at least kind of followed the run. It's very, very intense.
It was very fast.
But it's a really, really fun run. I think this is my favorite speed game on my favorite category just because there's very little RNG. Like even the Gaius I got there, it's very rare to get a final boss fight like that's that bad. And it didn't lose that much time. 99% is just movement, which just feels really satisfying with all the cancels and stuff. So, highly recommend you pick up this game. It's a great game casually as well, so do give it a go. It's available on Steam, usually it's pretty cheap. And yeah, the speedrunning community as well for this game is really amazing. They're probably one of my favorite group of friends, I would say, in the speedrunning scene. Shout outs to absolutely all of them. So, and yeah, shout outs to WASD for letting me running this game as well. That is, I really appreciate getting to show off this game because I love it. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Does anyone else have any final closing comments? I think we're going to be moving on to the final run of the marathon, is that right?
Yep, thank you for your run. Yes, we're up. Our next run is our final one, which is Rabbi Ribby. Thanks again for your run for us, Murtag. And if you're interested in final time, it's 19 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
All right then, so we'll move on to our next one. Before that, there's a short break.